first of all, were there questions about the kanji homework section?
It was very hard.
Okay, so would it be helpful for us to do a line-by-line out-loud reading and translation of the paragraphs? Would that be a good idea?
Yes.
To kind of go through it and read it together and see how we do? Which one was harder, the handwritten one or the long one?
I think the long one.
The long one? Okay. Did anyone have trouble with the handwriting in the little memo? That was pretty easy? Okay. Okay, so let's start with the long one then, if that's the one that more people had trouble with. Okay, so, Sveta, why don't you read the first sentence?
Oh my god, I forgot what that kanji is. Oh no.
Kin,
Kinyobi?
yep, kinyobi,
Kinyobi ni,
ni,
honji,
jin,
jin, no, tomodachi,
koen,
toko,
koen,
toko, I can't,
koen,
toko and
ni,
da, ni, ikimashita.
hi. This is a case where, okay, if you're writing in your books at all, you can take a pencil and you can put marks between words if you need to. This is where kanji comes in really handy, because if you're reading this in kanji, tomodachi is kanji, koen is kanji, the I in ikimashita is kanji. And then the particles really jump out at you because they become basically dividers between kanji words. You know, so you've got kanji particle, kanji particle, kanji particle, kanji verb, verb ending. You know, that's how most sentences go when you're reading them full on kanji. When they leave the kanji out, you can see that it can be confusing as to where your word breaks are because they don't put spaces traditionally. So, kinyobi ni means on Friday, right? Nihonjin no tomodachi to,
My Japanese friend.
with a Japanese friend, right? That to is with. Okay, so Nihonjin no tomodachi is Japanese friend. To is with. You see that so far? Koen is park. Ni, directionality in this case, to. Koen ni ikimashita. Went, right? So on Friday, with a Japanese friend or friends, we don't know singular or plural, went to a park. So the speaker is saying, I went to a park with Japanese friend or friends on Friday. Do you see how that works? Now, if you analyze this sentence, look at it from the period working backwards. Okay, we know that it's about Mary. The subject is not stated, right? So you can say Mary went, ikimashita. Ni is to, koen is park, right? To is with, Nihonjin no tomodachi, Japanese friend. On, ni, kinyobi, Friday. Do you see how it almost perfectly syncs with the English if you work it backwards? The only thing you have to make an exception for is anytime you've got a phrase with no possessive, you have to keep that as a unit. It doesn't necessarily work to turn it around. But other than that, you can work it backwards from the period. So, you know, then I'm gonna put Mary in here so you can just see how it works. So Mary-san wa was not stated, right? So I'm color coding this. Okay. So Mary-san wa. Okay, and then we've got what? Kin. I'm writing kanji fast, sorry. Kinyobi ni. And then what was it? Ni honjin no tomodachi to koen, right? Koen, I'm just writing the kanji that are faster than the hiragana. Koen ni ikimashita. Okay, so this is koen, that's iki, this is tomo. Just so you get a little bit of a visual of what it would be like if you were doing it, but look at it. You can do Mary and then work it backwards, right? Mary went to the park, right, with Japanese friends on Friday, right? So if you numbered this as ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, chichi, hachi. If you numbered the Japanese sentence that way, then what have you got? The one stays one, right? But then for the rest of it, it goes 8, 7, 6, right? 5, 4, 3, and 2. You see? Yeah, 4 is this whole thing, but isn't that crazy though? So one of the tips I offer whenever you're reading anything like this and having a hard time understanding one of the sentences, first of all, look for vocabulary that you're not sure of and make sure you know what those mean. That's step one, because if you don't know your vocabulary, knowing the grammar isn't going to help you figure out the sentence, right? But step two is find your subject. If it's a Japanese sentence, look for that wa. Everything before the wa is your subject. If you're translating from Japanese into English, write that subject down first, right? And then come to the period and translate backwards for the rest of the sentence. And like I said, if you get to a phrase that has no in it, you might have to rethink that segment as a unit instead of working it backwards as separate, because friend's Japanese person doesn't work here, right? It's Japanese friend, not my friend's Japanese person. You know, my friend does not own a Japanese person, right? But a Japanese person can be a friend, right? Does that make sense? So you might have to tweak things a little bit when you get to a no phrase, but it works as a rule of thumb to just mark out your subject first and then work the rest of the sentence backwards. And it works just as well most of the time from English into Japanese. Figure out what the subject of your sentence is. The easy way to do that in English is find your main verb, went. And anything before that is likely to be the subject in English, right? Because English does subject, then verb, then object, and everything else, right? So if you do it that way, it usually will work, right? Because what are the things that could move around in an English sentence? Mary went to the park with Japanese friends on Friday. Mary went with Japanese friends to the park on Friday, or Mary went on Friday to the park with Japanese friends. You can swap those segments around, but you know what? You can do that in Japanese too, right? You can swap those parts around. You can say, Mary-san wa Nihonjin no tomodachi to kinyoubi ni koen ni ikimashita. That works. Mary-san wa koen ni Nihonjin no tomodachi to kinyoubi ni ikimashita. It sounds a little odd in that order, but it's still grammatically possible. The rule of thumb in Japanese is usually the next thing after the subject is going to be the time phrase. And then these two segments are somewhat interchangeable. If you wanted to put 6 and 7 before 4 and 5, you could, right? Notice that for purposes of translation, we separated the particles out from their subjects or nouns or whatever, because in English, words like to and ni equate to prepositions, which in Japanese they come after the word they relate to, but in English they usually come before the word they relate to, right? So that work it backwards thing worked again. You see what I'm saying? Again, there might be times when it doesn't work perfectly, but I'd say probably 90% of your sentences, this method's going to work to help you translate. So if you've got this, reading a paragraph in Japanese becomes a lot easier. Okay? So let's see if we can apply this to a few more sentences. So Sierra-san, next sentence.
公園で友達と話しました。
Right. So, again, working it backwards, we know that the subject is Mary. It's unstated, but it's Mary for this whole thing for the most part. So, working from the end, what did she do?
Something
Mary hanashimashita, spoke, talked, okay. Tomodachi to means with friends, okay. So probably those same friends, the Nihonjin no tomodachi, right? Where?
At the park.
At the park, right? So she, on Friday, she went with Japanese friends to the park. At the park, she spoke with her friends. Makes sense, right? You don't go to the park with people and then ignore them.
Just stand next to them.
Right. Okay, so Alex, the next sentence?
それからレストランへ行きました。
Right. Okay.
So それから then
Yeah.
レストランへ so after going to the restaurant
Yeah.
行きました went
Right.
to the restaurant.
Okay, so after that, sorekara is like and then, or after that, they went to the restaurant. We assume they, because again, no subject was stated, so we can assume that it's still Mary and her friends. Okay, Andrea-san, next one.
たくさん食べました。
Right,
たくさん。
okay.
We ate a lot.
Yes, they ate a lot. Okay, たくさん食べました. Okay, so again, they ate, 食べました, たくさん, a lot. So working it backwards is still working, right? Isn't that crazy? Okay. じゃあ、エリさん。
土曜日は一人で
はい。
お茶を飲んで行きました。
はい。
She went to the temple by herself on
Yes.
Saturday.
On Saturday, excellent. So there again, you can say Mary went, right? Because in English we need that subject, right? So Mary went, ikimashita. Where? Hotera et, so to the temple, right? Hitoride is alone, by herself, right? And then when? On Saturday. And why is it doing doyobi wa instead of doyobi ni? Anybody have any ideas about that?
Just introducing a new topic.
Introducing a new topic, so it's making also sort of a contrast. The first paragraph was what she did on Friday, now they're saying, but on Saturday, you don't even have to have a but in the Japanese sentence, just changing it from the usual particle choice for a time phrase, which would be ni, to the subject particle wa, highlights, hey, on Saturday, she did this, contrasting that with the previous day that was talked about. Make sense? Okay, Dylan-san.
たくさん店がありました。
Right?
There were a lot of shops
Yes, there were a lot of
or
shops
stores.
or stores.
Yeah,
yes.
so here's my, so this takusan is being used here as an adjective, saying many shops, many stores, but in the sentence two previously, it was being used as an adverb, it was modifying the
Yeah.
verb, so they ate a lot,
Taksan
they ate much.
usually, yeah, taksan usually gets classed as an adverb in Japanese, but in this case, it's modifying a noun,
Yeah.
which English would say, well, that should be considered an adjective in there.
Yeah. they
But
don't really
Japanese
care.
doesn't really care. You can use adverbs to modify nouns as well as adjectives
So you can
or
say
adverbs or
takusan hito
verbs.
to mean a lot of people,
Taksan no hito.
no hito, alright.
Yeah, for some reason, taksan no mise. You could put a no in there, taksan no mise, or taksan mise ga arimasu. It's a little bit colloquial to leave the no out. It's a little bit slangy. I'm not sure why they made that choice here, but they did.
Question, do they have like different kanji or something, or are they the same word?
Which one?
Taksan?
Taksan? It's usually written in hiragana. That's one of those things where nouns probably 99% of the time have a kanji. Some of them may have fallen out of common usage if they're really obnoxious to write, but in general, nouns have kanji. Verbs, usually the first piece is kanji, the ending is always hiragana. Again, there are a few verbs that just aren't commonly written with their kanji anymore, but most verbs have a kanji. Particles and adverbs usually are written in hiragana in modern Japanese. There may have been kanji for them at some point in the past, not very commonly used anymore. And adjectives are kind of split. Again, most adjectives have a kanji associated with them, whether it gets used commonly or not is a kind of a toss-up. Some of them you see in kanji all the time, and some of them you hardly ever see in kanji. So adjectives you never quite know, but adverb phrases and particles are usually hiragana in modern Japanese. You'd have to go back probably at least 5 or 6 or 7 decades to get texts that have a lot of kanji usage for particles and adverbs. So that's just, but it helps when you start reading more
I prefer it this
kanji,
way,
it helps to break up the sentence, because like I said, you end up with that pattern of, well, I know this kanji is a noun, I know this kanji is a verb, and then you've got the hiragana breaking it up so that it's not just a string of kanji with no context for what's what. Okay, does that make sense? So, but it's also a real motivator for learning kanji, because I actually find it easier now that I know some kanji. It's easier for me to read, say, a middle school book that has a fair number of kanji than an elementary school book that doesn't put spaces between words, but yet is all in hiragana.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like very long.
Yeah, you
Hiragana
have
is
this long string of hiragana, and you're like, okay, where are my word breaks?
Yeah,
I like go on a particle hunt. Okay, scavenger hunt for particles, so I can figure out what the heck this sentence is saying, you know? Kanji helps break it up.
Where's the wa, where's the
Yeah, exactly.
The day.
Strings of hiragana like this are harder to read when there's no spaces. That's why if you're comfortable writing in your book, it's probably helpful to go through it and put little pencil marks between words for yourself, just so that you don't go insane trying to read the stuff.
Especially if it gets to the end and then it breaks off and goes to the next line. in
Right.
one word.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, they don't care about, breaks in Japanese. So you'll notice, for example, arimashita, wrapped around. It's not arimashita, it's
Yeah.
one word, arimashita, right? So you gotta be aware of that. じゃあ、タテヨナさん、next one.
店でおまんじゅうを買いました。
はい。
So at the shop, they
Mhm.
bought some buns.
Yes, omanju, or sweet
Honorable
buns.
sweet buns.
Yeah, honorable sweet buns, yes. Omanju, yeah. Anybody ever had manju? They look like a little, white roll, but you break it in half and there's, red bean paste in the center.
Don't they use a red bean paste to celebrate such a like getting engaged? Like
Yeah, manju is a common, sweet. It's like a traditional sweet.
I feel like I've
in
seen it
Japan.
covered in powdered sugar or something.
Yeah, that's one of the ways it's done. So, Dr. Let's do the next line.
日曜日は遅く起きました。
Okay, so again, we have on Sunday, contrasting with the previous 2 days that were discussed, right? And then osoku is
Late.
the adjective, the adverb for late. And then okimashita, of course, is got up. So again, our reverse order thing works, right? She got up late on Sunday, right? Hey,
I do have a question. So why would they put the O there, like with omanju?
that is a common prefix on a lot of Japanese nouns, and it's just politer than calling it manju. Why some nouns take o and some don't is a mystery of the universe.
Okay.
The only thing I can tell you, that there are 2 honorific prefixes that can work on nouns, o and go. Generally, go is more associated with onyomi, Chinese readings. Go, that's go. O is usually associated more with Japanese readings of words. So depending on whether the kanji compound you're looking at is onyomi or kunyomi, that might help you decide whether to put an o or a go there. It's not 100% because manju, I'm pretty sure, is onyomi. So it breaks the rule already. But osushi, osake, omizu,
oh sushi.
yeah, are all examples of words that can take the honorific o prefix. Gohan is a good example of the go prefix. The han part is the part that means rice or meal. The go is just an honorific, but it's so much a part of the set phrase now. You'll never hear anybody say han o tabemashita. It's always going to be gohan o tabemashita.
So you don't always have to use the O?
Right, there are some
Osushi
words where the
osake.
O is very optional, and then there are some words where it's become so embedded that it sounds odd to leave it off. Think about otosan, okasan.
Yeah.
Those are pretty fairly embedded, although there are dialect regions where you will hear people refer to their parents as to-chan, ka-chan.
What is that?
Yeah, you're
The
the
chan
right?
is, yeah, the
No.
chan is a diminutive, so it's like a more affectionate, it's like saying mommy and daddy
Oh.
instead of
Duh.
mother and father.
I mean, I want to be like, so Sto-chan,
Yeah.
Ko-chan?
To-chan is like daddy,
No.
ka-chan is like mommy, versus oto-san, oka-san, which is like
Oh.
father and mother. So
I mean,
oto-san,
I would-
oka-san is formal.
I'm gonna go call my parents and I'll be like,
what?
I'm like, I'm calling
Yeah.
you Mommy United. Like,
Yeah.
oh, call me that in English.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, you will hear but the honorific o is a very common prefix, but not all words take it. I have never heard them do o computer.
Does it go for inanimate objects such as like
Can
a
you just put it
board?
on anything and make it up?
Yeah, well, I mean, it does, o sushi, o sake,
But it used to be alive, so she has fish in it.
well, was sake alive? Well, a plant,
Or did-
but,
See, I'm trying to think of like why it's like, does
Well-
it have like some living thing?
I think it has more to do with traditional words, not modern words. And, yeah, ohashi, chopsticks. It's a lot of traditional Japanese stuff. It's not usually Western loanword stuff. I've never heard anybody do oteburu.
So you're gonna see it with katakana.
Well, we just.
Yeah.
So that they,
Yeah, I even like kyokasho is textbook. I don't usually hear go kyokasho.
how about otakeo?
Now I want to
Otoke
say.
is possible,
Now I want to give it to.
but not
everything.
common.
I want to give it to everything and then troll people in Japan.
I'd be like, this isn't
That's not
right.
right. That's not right.
It's like hearing
Oh,
someone
God.
else.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, so osoku okimashita. Okay, so set this on the next line, on that last paragraph there.
Ona,
Okaa-san,
what?
Okaa-san,
Oh,
second sentence.
Okaa-san to,
Okaa-san mo,
Okaa-san mo o soku o kimashita.
hai.
Amimashita.
So Okaa-san mo, we finally have a new subject.
Well,
So okimashita is woke up, right?
so mom
Also-
woke up.
So mom also woke up, osoku,
Late.
late. Okay, so there, remember the mo versus wa thing that we
Oh,
talked about
also.
before? So we already knew that Mary woke up late on Nichiyobi. Okaa-san mo osoku okimashita. So mom also woke up late on that same Sunday, presumably. They don't mention the time.
Daylight Savings Day.
Yeah. Okay, so they slept in on Sunday morning.
Sounds great.
Sierra-san.
Okay. 私は
朝、
テ
テレビを、
を見ました。
はい。So the watashi wa is obviously I. Remember, this is Mary who wrote about her weekend. Okay, so I, and then asa terebi o mimashita. So I did what? Mimashita is watched, yep.
TV.
Terebi, TV, when? Asa. What's asa? Anybody? Morning, okay? So she slept in, mom also slept in, then she watched TV in the morning, right, on Sunday? Okay, Alex, huh?
それからお母さんと昼ご飯を食べました。
はい
So then mother lunch ate.
Okay, so work the particles in, okasan to hiru gohan o
Oh,
tabemashita.
so she had lunch with her mother.
That's right. So, sorekara, after that, so first it was morning, she watched some TV after she got up, right? And then she ate lunch with the mom. Okay?
午後は日本語を勉強しました。I studied Japanese in the morning or
What's gogo?
evening.
Afternoon,
Oh.
PM. Yeah, gogo is PM, so after lunch, right? She studied Japanese language. And then the final sentence, Avery?
本も読みました。
はい。
She also read a book.
She also read a book, right? Make sense? So there's an excerpt of this on the test next week. You'll be able to answer questions in English showing that you comprehended what you read, right?
Mhm.
It's not gonna be the same as what's here, they just have put the activities in proper order. Mine's gonna be more in the format of Q&A, I believe. Okay, does that help? So does everybody feel like they have a better handle on how to read this stuff and understand it using our work it backwards method? Yeah.
It's good to know that.
Yeah, and isn't that neat? I mean,
Yeah.
it's convenient that works that well so much of the time, right? I mean, if you can't have it be the same order as your native language, at least have it be an order that you can predict, right? That you can work with. You know, could be worse, right? If it were more all over the place, we'd be in more trouble.
Yes.
Okay, do you guys wanna try reading this short little, memo? Why not? Okay, Avery just read, so Dylan-san, why don't you read the salutation and the first sentence?
お母さんへ、今日は友達と大学で勉強します。
Hi. So, does anybody know what that et is doing after Okasan there?
Dear
Being the
Okasa.
comma?
Yes, it's like the comma or like the dear. Dear mom. Okay, or to mom. Think about it as two, and it makes sense because et is two in a sentence, right? Right, so to mom. Okay, 今日は友達と大学で勉強します. So what's the plan?
Day with a friend.
At college,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll study at the college.
Yep, so she's going to study at the college with friends or a friend. Okay, Tatiana-san?
うちで晩ご飯を食べません。
Right, which means
She's not going to eat. I don't know if that's lunch or dinner.
ban gohan. Which one is ban gohan? Dinner,
Dinner at
yes.
home.
Right, she's not gonna eat dinner at home, okay? The way you remember that ban is dinner, ban gohan, think about konbanwa,
Oh, right.
and what else have we learned? Konban for tonight, right? So we know a couple of ban phrases. Okay, Jack-san, can you finish the memo out for us?
9時半頃帰ります。
It's usually pronounced kuji when it's
Kuji, yeah.
time. Kuji han goro kaerimasu, which means
She'll return at 9:30.
yes, she'll return at approximately 9:30, right? So hence not eating dinner at home, right? She's letting her mom know not to expect her for dinner. She's gonna be at the college studying with friends all day, and I guess she'll eat dinner while she's on campus. Okay, and then, Sessa-san, can you make out the, date for us at the end of the memo there?
Not particularly, but I can figure it out. 10, no, what's the year?
No, it's not year. What kanji is that after the 10? Ju what?
I don't
Give
know.
you a hint, 2 months ago.
Oh, month, oh wait, sorry.
Jugatsu?
Jugatsu, which is, I said 10, October,
Yeah.
it's my birthday,
Oh.
should remember that.
Okay, and then the date would be read?
8, 僕20
Yeah, need you,
あ
not done yet.
10
What's a single line?
に
Need you,
に It's に right? Is it
ichi, need you ichi.
1 21
And then
2
nichi. When it's a date, there are exceptions, but the numbers where it's the like standard pronunciation, it's nichi when it's a date. So 10月21日 is how you would read that out loud. And the date is October what?
10 no
21st, yes, it's October 21st. You see that? 21日. Do you get that? So you just have to, see the number with the month. That means the month name, whichever month that is, right? And then 21日, that means the date. So,
There's that
October
social number
21st.
for the 27th.
what?
The 27th is Niju Shichi Nichi.
Yes. Yeah, that's fun to say, huh? 21日. Yeah. Don't bite your tongue. Okay, any questions about those guys? Okay. Let's go quickly through the one before that where they're identifying where things are in the building. So let's just go quickly through, let's see. Sierra, why don't you read Ichiban for us?
Restaurant bill no inside.
Okay,
I don't
what's that word? Naka. So, レストランはビルの中です. It's inside the building, right? And in this context, it also, it could be like the middle of the building, right? Alex-san, Ivan?
日本語学校はレストランの上です。
はい, yes. 日本語学校, the Japanese Language Academy, is above the restaurant, right? And then Andrea-san, 3番?
スーパーはレストランの下です。
はい. So the supermarket is below the restaurant, right? Everybody can see that in the picture, right? And that's so typical of Japanese high-rises too, that the basement is very often the supermarket. There'll be a floor that has restaurants, there'll be a floor that has a private language school. And in between, there may very well be a whole department store with, 5 floors, with each floor being a different category. Housewares on one, and, kimonos on another, and women's clothing, and men's clothing, and children's clothing, and toys, and, all those different categories.
Windows in Melbourne.
So, yeah, Japanese department stores and such build up rather than out. You will never find a Melbourne Square Mall style mall in Japan.
Too much wasted space.
Exactly.
Yeah, why
It's-
don't they
it's-
build up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because we have so much space, we just drain the swamps and make more.
Right, yeah. Okay, so, okay, did everybody do some writing practice too? Not yet? Yeah, anybody feel like volunteering to read an example of either their memo or their weekend? 1 or 2 people maybe?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's hear one.
I can't remember what I wrote. Every-san so. 今日は、遅く帰ります。Does that work?
Yep,
Konban wa tomodachi to decipher my handwriting. Karaoke o shimasu. Uchi de bangohan o tabemasen. And the date, or is it the date? No. 11時頃帰ります.
Right.
And yeah, date is 11月23日.
That works.
My name.
いいですね.
That was my memo.
Okay, so that works. See how the memo thing can work? It's good practice.
My sister doesn't actually speak Japanese, so it's not highly useful, but.
Right, but think about, someday maybe you'll be
Japanese
fortunate
roommates.
enough to live in
Yes.
Japan and have a Japanese roommate, and you might need to leave them a note letting you know where you went. Now, granted, these days it might be a text instead of a note, but still,
Still.
you can text this stuff on your phones now, If you have a smartphone, you can turn on your Japanese keyboard, and if you have an old-fashioned phone, when you get to Japan, you can get a Japanese version of a flip phone that actually does type and text Japanese, believe it or not. It's a pain in the butt, but it's possible. But I think in Japan also, most people have swapped those out for smartphones by now. Because
now
if they
you
want
can-
to text at all, texting on those old flip phones in Japanese was a really annoying process.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
Even in English, I mean,
Yeah,
oh
seriously.
my god, oh,
Yeah.
no, I missed, now I have to go through 5 letters again.
Yeah.
You want a period, then you gotta go
Yeah.
through all the
Well,
exclamation
one of
marks.
the cool things one of the options, if you add a Japanese keyboard to your smartphone,
Oh,
one of the options that a lot of them have is the hiragana keyboard, where it just shows you like a, ka, sa, ta, na, ha, ma, ya, ra, wa, and then you touch, say, ka, for example, and ka is in the middle, and then if you go up one, it's ki, over here it's ku, ke, and ko. So you just press and hold, you get ka. If you press and flick one direction, you get that other letter.
I found that
So-
one confusing.
Yeah.
I've tried to use that one and I'm
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
It can be challenging to get used to if you're not used to it, but it's kind of fun to play around with. You can also choose a Romaji keyboard and type Japanese that way, which I find faster just because I'm more used to that keyboard.
Yeah,
But,
I have another, she's actually Japanese, she's older, and she actually writes books in Japanese, and she uses the English keyboard and she types in Japanese.
Yeah, a lot of Japanese people are used to a Romaji keyboard and type in Japanese that way. The other thing that a lot of smartphones now have as well is you can choose a handwriting option, and it'll give you a little pad, little box pop up, and you can draw your kanji with your finger, and it'll give you like a little pop-up line of the kanji that it thinks you might have meant, and you touch the one that you really meant, because it's trying to read your handwriting, and it's guessing, well, it's probably this one, but if you didn't mean this one, you could have meant this, or that.
Yeah, some of the smartphones with the keyboard do that too.
Yeah.
Like, I used that whenever I was, what was I doing? I was writing and I had to do translations, and I was having a hard time remembering what some certain words were, because certain words weren't even in here,
Yeah.
and I had to type it in, and then I would actually go in the translation, I would just write it, but it would take so long for it to pop up, because it'd be like, I had to
Yeah.
write one letter at a time, and it would be like pop, and then
Okay.
that's-
Questions about workbook homework, anybody?
I had to do it.
Ah. Okay, so nobody has questions currently about workbook content?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay, then,
The
Yes.
OPI is just on lesson 4, right?
Right, it's lesson 4 content. The format is going to be some questions about where things are, some questions about schedule, like, trying to make a plan, and then some questions will be free form, just, make up a question you want to ask your partner, and they make up one they want to ask. So it'll be a mixture of those. Okay. So do you guys want to practice by just having some question time? I'm thinking it would be a good idea for everybody to just think up a question you want to ask. And we'll go around the room and let each person ask whatever random question in Japanese to the next person in line. So do you guys need a couple minutes to come up with a question or two? Okay, and you can write them down in your notebook. Okay, but this is good rehearsal for the OPI because I'm going to want you guys to have some questions you can ask, even if it's something as simple as, 今日何時に起きましたか? What time did you wake up this morning? Today. Or 毎日何時に寝ますか? What time do you go to bed every night? Or, 日本に行きましたか? Did you go to Japan? It could be literally anything that we've learned so far. Okay, so come up with a couple of questions. Okay. While you're doing that, can I just ask for a quick show of hands, how many people are planning to take Japanese 2 next semester? Not sure yet?
I have to get other stuff done, so
Oh, okay.
I think
You can't take any more electives, okay, so 6 people, 7 because there's one person from my other group who's planning to take the morning class. So I have to go talk to my department chair and say, please let it run with only 7 people. Because I don't think we're gonna get more than 7 in here. If
Unless-
they, yeah.
Did anyone skip a semester and they're gonna come back or not?
That's possible. I know of one person who's planning to come back next semester who has had Japanese 1 prior to this, but she would rather take the afternoon class. She's not a morning person.
What time
She's
was
already
the
told.
afternoon lesson?
I think it's at 4:30, same time slot I've got now for my second Japanese 1 class. How many of you would be able to take the 4:30 class if they cancel this one out from under us?
I can always do it.
I don't know, I'd have to check my schedule.
Yeah, okay, so some of you really can't. So
I can
I will
always change
use
it.
that in my argument, that some of you just have to take the morning class because you can't fit afternoon into your schedule. Yeah. Okay, well, I will use that and see if that helps convince them that they should let it run with 7 people.
How many do you need to have?
Normally, they want 10 minimum, so.
And then people drop out once it gets grouped.
Yeah.
So just sign up and then drop out.
Settle.
So, yeah, so we're like 3 people short of what we really need. So I'm hoping that, because enrollment numbers have been down across the board, I'm hoping that means they're going to be more forgiving and let it run anyway. And if anybody knows anybody who's had Japanese 1 prior to this and would be interested, try to recruit them.
Do you think we could get the Japanese club started up again?
I'd like to, I just don't know what's going on with the officers, because they were mostly, people who started it last year were all in Japanese 4. And so, or Japanese 3 rather, there was no 4 that year because nobody could agree on the time slot. So some of them may be coming back next semester to do level 4, cause I'm gonna have a Japanese independent study that's gonna be mostly level 4 people with one level 3 person who's trying to just get herself caught up to the chapters she's missing over the break, and, you know, one of the Japanese 4 people has been helping her and studying together, so, and she's only got like a 2-chapter gap left to bridge, a 2 or 3 chapter gap, so she's planning to do that over the break and try to catch up enough to them that she can actually do the same content that the level 4 people are doing, even though she'd be getting credit for 3. That would be amazing if she can do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
dedication.
Yeah, she is. She's super dedicated. Okay. So everybody's got a couple of sentences to do? Okay. Some people are still figuring them out. Okay.
If you were asking somebody, like, inviting them, you have to say, Masenka, right? You have to say, like, when I was asking, Mokuyobi ni kisaten de ikimasu ka? Do I have to say ikimasu?
Kisaten ni ikimasen ka? Yeah. Yeah, if you're inviting them. Yeah, kisaten ni ikimasen ka, because you're talking about going to kisaten as opposed to doing something at kisaten, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's an important particle distinction. Whether you're going to the place or you're doing something at the place, right? Yeah, kisaten de hanashimasu, kisaten de tabemasu, but kisaten ni ikimasu. See the difference? Okay. Okay, so. Any other questions? Pause this recording, because it's just a lot of dead air right now.